Gracias por acompañarnos en una nueva emisión de Sentados a la Mesa Podcast, un espacio creado para sentarnos contigo a la mesa y traer herramientas y soluciones para que tu familia vuelva al diseño original.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. This is Ana Maria Bagnoli, founder of Transition, and today I have a special guest and friend with me to talk about the teenage years. This is a topic that we will be bringing to Educa por Diseño 2026 under the theme Construye. I'm going to run this interview in English, but you will be able to see the subtitles, and I hope you enjoy it. So today with me, it's Connie Albers, author of Parenting Beyond the Rules, Raising Teens with Confidence and Joy. Her book was published by NAV Press. It's an Amazon bestseller. And that book emphasizes on building lasting relationships with teenagers rather than relying solely on strict rules. And that is the topic of this interview. She's also a podcaster, host of Equipped to Be. She's a speaker and national keynote speaker. She has spoken at Florida Parent Educator Association and social media marketing, and in the social media marketing world. She's also a media contributor. She has appeared as a contributor for media outlets such as Focus on the Family, ABC Morning News segments, and various Christian television programs. So here with us is Connie Albers. Thank you, Connie, for being with me today.
Oh, it's my delight to be with you. I'm so excited about our topic today. It's such a needed conversation to have. I do want to say it's not, I need to make a little adjustment, and it's not ABC, it's Fox 35. So I just want to make sure in case somebody goes over and tries to find me or any of my interviews, they'll know where to go look.
Thank you. Thank you for clarifying that. That's in my notes, but people take note. There's a correction there. Okay, so let's jump into our topic because this is what you're going to be talking about at our conference this year, April 10th and 11th. We're going to be hosting this online, so I'm very excited because we can reach basically anybody who has internet connection and speaks Spanish. And we have the honor of having you. You are a veteran of homeschooling. I've known you since the beginning of my homeschool years. I was letting you know that. So I've been following you for the past 14 to 15 years. And I have had the honor to share with you our journey as well. But we want to learn from you. I know our community needs a lot of advice from those veterans, such as you and the other pioneers that will be with us this year. So my first question to you, which is a key question for all of those that will be attending, has to do with the teenage years, with the challenges that come with that time of life. So how do I, as a parent, transition from being a manager of my child to a mentor as they hit the teen years? How do we adjust? Because definitely there's a change. I am living it myself. So please enlighten us with what you also include in your book.
Yeah, you know, it's funny. When you said we've known each other that long, I remember you coming up to me at the conference. And it's hard to believe that you have teenagers now because your kids were just so little.
Yeah.
And you were thinking about homeschooling. And here you are in the midst of hormones and changes and figuring out what are the next steps going to be and how do we do chemistry or physics or all the things. And so it's a great question. And I think that when you asked, how do we move from manager to mentor? This is really what I want to emphasize. It is a slow, gradual process. It's not like you walk in a dark room and flip on a light switch. It's that rise, it's that taking notice of where your children are developmentally, spiritually, emotionally, and relationally. When you take note, you'll see some of your children, you can start that process of letting go of certain managerial tasks and delegating more to your children because you know they are capable and able. And in many cases, they want to accept that responsibility. However, you may have some children, they're reluctant, they're slow at wanting to assume responsibility. They kind of like being little kids. They kind of like not having a lot of responsibility. And I really want you to hear me. That doesn't mean they're bad. It doesn't mean there's anything wrong with them. I mean, we would love for our children. There is a massive push that I see happening in the culture, and that is to push towards independence too soon. We want our children to be interdependent because, as I write in Parenting Beyond the Rules, and as I've done many podcasts, we want to really paint a picture, Anna Maria, of doing life together. And that's an interdependency. It's not codependency. Don't confuse it. It's not that they're codependent on us to remind them to pay their bills. No, it's that they're interdependent relationally. Means that conversation when they're struggling, they can come to you and say, how do I file my taxes? And yes, that does actually start to happen while they're in your home. So it's a slow process. It's a gradual process. Mom and dad, you've got to pay attention. You've got to be studying your children. What are they asking? Maybe they don't want to have that sense of independence or self-reliance, maybe because they're afraid they might fail or they're not going to do it perfectly because they know what your standards are and they're afraid that they're not going to, rise up to your standards. So we want to, in addition to going at it slowly, knowing our children, we want to constantly affirm them. Good try. I noticed that you tried. It didn't go so well this time, but that's okay. We'll practice it again. That transition of solely dependent on you as a parent to remind them to wash their clothes or pick up the clothes or cook the food or whatever it is that you're having them do their school assignments. It's that slow transition of you coming alongside them saying, I know you can do this. I believe in you. You have been taught how to do this. Mommy has shown you how to do this, and I know you can do it. Let's do it together for a little bit until they feel a sense of mastery. If there is an actual reluctance, you want to get to the heart of that. Why are they reluctant? I touched on it. Are they afraid of failing? Do they not have the confidence? Maybe are they the type of child who instinctively just likes doing things together? I mean, that's just their nature. They want to do it with other people. That is a good key for you as a mom and dad to know, all right, this child, they're going to be the ones that when they're 20 and they're going into college or they're trying their first job, they're the ones, and I'll give you a great example. We have a 30-year-old who's considering a job transfer. This is a great example of the relationship that you're building. Personally, I mean, he personally came over to the house. He goes, I want to talk to you. I want your insights. I want to know what you think about this because you're going to see things that I'm not going to see. That's what we're going for. We're not trying to cut our kids off and send them out completely unprepared or not with the confidence to know. And by us reassuring them, okay, well, let's look at it this way. Always let's. We can do this. You can do this. I can help you. That slow transference, but we're still wanting them, even as adults, when they have really hard decisions. How do I invest in the stock market? Or it's hard to think of your 10, 12, 13-year-old, your 15-year-old coming to you saying, how do I buy a house? How do I figure out this down payment? But that's really what you're going for. You want them to come to you for hard decisions. Will you pray about this for me? So, can I confide in this with you? Does that make sense?
It does. I hear two things from what you're saying. One is to slow down, which I think is completely opposite of what society is offering us. We constantly see a push to speed things up. And I think parents fall into that trap many times, especially in the teenage years. They want to kick them out of the house many times. And what you're saying is totally the opposite, which takes patience, it takes observation, it takes note-taking, just like you said, and understand that you're building a relationship for the future. You're building an adult that is still in the body of a teenager. And what you're looking for is to maintain the communication, shifting or transforming itself to a mentorship kind of conversation rather than the manager when they were babies and you were doing everything for them. So I hear that the slowing down, so vital, crucial at this point of life, teenage years. And the other thing is to keep in mind the kind of relationship you want in the future with them so that they can come back to you and hear your insight as a parent, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like, I'm taking notes.
Yes. And constantly telling them, hey, I'm not trying to control you. I'm not trying to tell you what to do. I'm giving you some things. And I know you and I've talked about this over the years. I always tell my kids this. I see something. I'd like for you to consider this. Will you consider what I want to say? And even ask their permission ahead of time.
Right.
Especially when you're in that transference process and they're really, the driver's license, they're thinking about college. You see that end goal of 18, finishing high school. That could be 16, 17, 18. But that transference of not always telling them what you think they should do, because that's often received with control.
And I think that's one of the biggest mistakes, Connie. Sorry to cut you off. That's one of the biggest mistakes to impose or trying to make them do what you want them to do, like you used to when they were little. It's one of the biggest challenges. I include myself on that one.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. They'll get. I think that's why we have gray hair by the time our kids are older. But I will say this, in all seriousness, you touched on something I think is very important. What we say, our children, especially teenagers, they view as we're trying to control them. We're trying to fix them. We're trying to resolve everything. That's what they hear when we speak. And when they talk back or resist, we view that as rebellion, resistance, and noncompliance. And that can be some of it, but that's really not the truth. What we have to communicate to our kids is a system of, you have been taught well. If you've done your job, you have taught them how to think, how to experience the world, how to process information, and how to make a decision. And then you want to reaffirm to them, I just want to give you some suggestions. When somebody tells us, I have a couple of ideas, or I have some suggestions, or some things that you might want to consider as you make this decision, all of a sudden, the resistance of standoffishness, or I'm an adult, don't tell me what to do, all of a sudden it kind of drops because they realize, hey, the onus is going to be on you, and paint that picture of, the day's going to come where you won't be here and you're going to need to solve these problems. So all I'm trying to do is give you a couple of ideas. I'm not trying to fix you, and I'm not trying to tell you what to do. If you want to know, come and ask me. So it's really such an individual parenting experience. It is not. That's why I wrote Parenting Beyond the Rules. There's not a cookie cutter formulaic equations. No, I wouldn't word. It'd be so easy. And actually, that's what the school system does do. It's formulaic, and it doesn't work. But homeschooling your children gives you a world of possibilities to create a relationship that stands the test of time.
A very unique relationship, just like everybody, like we are all masterpieces. So very important to keep that in mind. What we're giving you here on this podcast, on this interview, is kind of tools, but you're going to have to use it at your own pace, in your own timing. You know your kids better than Connie and me, so you know what you're dealing with. Just, take notes and start using this kind of advice, which is very enriching for the relationship. In fact, as you were speaking, I remembered that in the Bible, the Lord does value a lot the teenage years. You can see that many prophets, teachers, and people that God used were in their teenage years, and they were making important advancements for the kingdom in these ages. I also see parents kind of desperate as they go through the teenage years. They wanting to skip maybe this season because they want to see an adult already taking responsibility. But really what's happening here is that their heart is being grounded to their purpose. Like we are supposed to be working at this from the beginning, but as they reach the teenage years, there's more understanding, more analytical processes going on. So they're now not just following, but they're internalizing everything that we have been teaching them. So it's such an important and crucial time in life. And I say because I have 3 at home right now. So I'm in slow motion right now. very slow.
You're in slow motion, moving very fast.
Yes, it's a contrast I have to deal with. But just sharing my personal experience on this topic, slowing down has really helped because we have done a previous job, a previous work, just like you said. If we have done our job as parents in the elementary years, then we are continuously building on top of that and adjusting to the season. You talk about that a lot, Connie. That's not in our questions, but I think it's important. What do you have to say about the seasons? I've heard you many times, and I take you as a reference point. You're a few of the speakers that talk about seasons and identifying seasons. It does make a complete difference when you use one tool in the elementary years or the middle school years or the high school years, even though it's the same tool, that same time management. You're teaching them from the beginning time management, but in different wordings with different approaches. So can you, let's add that question to this interview. What can you tell a parent how to identify the seasons that change?
I love that you touched on that. You're not the same. I've heard, I think it was Dr. Ammon say this, and it really resonated with me because it's so true. When you have your children, you're at a unique stage and age in your life. And so the more children you have, you're at a different stage with each child that you've had. And why does this matter? Because you are not the same parent to your firstborn that you are to your thirdborn. You're just not. My baby, my fifth child, didn't have the same mom that my first child had. And even though I thought it was, you try to keep the things the same and you love them and all the subtle nuances that you put into your family values and your relationship, they're experiencing you different. And so when you touched on seasons, it's not only knowing your kid's season. I'm gonna take two parts to this. Knowing your season as a woman. Where are you hormonally, relationally, maturity wise, in your faith walk? Where are you? How is God refining you? Because your firstborn, you really are kind of testing out the water. You're trying all these things that you've heard. By the time you get, to subsequent children,
Right.
certain things aren't as important because you've learned, okay, that's not a major thing for me to major on. That's like a minor thing. What I really need to focus on is this thing over here. That's why your children experience a different parent through the birth order. And then, so you have the hormone part of a woman that you're going through. And I know we are going to touch on that particular topic, but then with your kids, you reference the toolbox. It's a great example because most families have a toolbox. Some are big, some are small. Your family has a massive because of your line of work.
Yes.
But as your children are little, they're given, like, let's just use a screwdriver, right? They have these little toy screwdrivers and they're playing with these little toys that they unscrew certain things and they screw them back and they're learning. They're learning how to motor control, brain, function, circuitry. If I turn, how to turn, which way to turn. So there's a lot of development, but they're not a master. They just know what the tool is.
Right.
As they get older, they graduate to different types of screwdrivers that perform different functions. They've already mastered the turning, the pressure, okay, I know what it does. But what we're really wanting to prepare our kids for is mastery. And because every year you're adding something new, a new skill, a new vernacular, a new set of tools to their toolbox, and you're teaching them over time how to use them, why you use them, how to treat people, how to stand on God's word and his promises, and view that toolbox at your building within your children. They don't go out to the toolbox every day and pull out a tool and run around the house and use it just because it's there. They want to be a master craftsman that pulls out the tool at a designated time and they can skillfully use it. That's the course of raising children. You've introduced concepts little by little, and as they age, they get older and older and more wise and more skilled and more crafts. And they will actually, God willing, they'll surpass your ability. That's the coolest part. Yeah. And so just talking about seasons is, as our children grow and change, and I do write this in the book, we adjust. And so often we set these parameters, the curfew time, the bedtime, the what, who they can hang out with or when they can hang out. We create all that. We make that and we say, this is what we do. And what I say to parents is that has to change. That has to adjust, because during the teen years, and you are facing this, there is a fear, because what we see happening online and now with AI and what we see happening in our culture and our society, those cannot be taken lightly. We cannot allow our children to go in their bedroom and play a video game and have chat conversations with whoever is on the game system, or even with our phones. It is too dangerous. The price is too high. And I know we're tired. I have 5 children. I know it's tiring and wearisome, but we can't check out in the teen years, because we have done a good job in the elementary and middle school years. That's where you have to stay the course and stay steady. Your children need you to be steadfast and steady.
Yeah, hanging there, parents. I'm doing it myself. Like, you cannot quit. This is a very critical time in life. It's a very transitional time. I love how you explain leaving things out and bringing you in. Like, that's something that we need to learn as parents, definitely. And as an adult, not even as a parent. Like, relationships in general go through these transitions. I think as the years go by, you're not the same friend like you used to be at the beginning of the friendship. If it's a long-lasting friendship, you start removing things, adding things, and getting to know the person. And you can see this portrayed also going back to the biblical worldview. This is how God deals with us. He keeps adding and going through our heart and shaping us. And one of my biggest references is exactly that. For a parent, who is your primary guide? Like, we can be teachers and we can be leaders and we can be examples that can speak to these things. But if you don't know anybody, well, the Bible is there for you. And you have a father above all. He is the ultimate, primary, number one father that can actually teach you how to be a child. And then you copy your father's relationship with you, basically, and show it out in your family. I know what I'm saying goes deeper than what I'm just saying. But for me, the reference point has always been that relationship that God has taught me myself. And then I show it to my children. I don't want people to think that this is just coming out from the books. And I know that's true for you too, Connie. You mentioned that a lot too in your podcast, in your book. We don't eliminate God's work daily in our household. We are all in the process of maturing and transitioning in many areas, sometimes even as adults, where we are immature. And so he's maturing us. Even though we are the adult and the parent, we also have that cycle inside of us. So parents, go back to prayer, go back to humility also. A lot of humility. I think parents need to rethink sometimes things and correct themselves, and even recognize they are making mistakes or saying things they're not supposed to in front of their children, especially in the teenage years. I found that very valuable, Connie. And I know what I'm saying sounds confrontational, especially sometimes in the Hispanic community, where we are raised kind of thinking the adult knows everything and we just have to follow and not question or not repent from or not make changes as we see fit. I think parents need to, it doesn't diminish your authority to recognize a fault. It actually enhances and highlights your authority when you're capable of recognizing your mistakes and speaking about them to your teenage son or daughter. You will actually bring them closer to you than push them away. That's my take on this. So let's keep moving forward, Connie. There's so much to talk, and you are going to touch on this on our conference at the round table for mothers. We're going to have a special time for moms on Saturday around noon with Connie and other mothers to share about these specific points for the moms. Let's jump into the question regarding this, because I hear this a lot, especially now that homeschooling is booming and a lot of mompreneurs are building their businesses and catering to the homeschooling community. So now it's not only homeschooling, but balancing your homeschooling journey with your business journey. And your mothering journey and your womanhood, and everything comes into place. So how do I balance the demands of homeschooling and business without losing my own identity?
Good luck. No, I'm kidding.
Let's end it there.
It's such a, going back to seasons, there are seasons where you are going to be poured out and you're going to be giving because tyranny of the urgent, or you have some things going on in your home with one of your children, and they're requiring much of you, much more of you, and there will be seasons, and I want to make sure we have that right perspective, that it's not like every day is going to be totally balanced. There will be seasons where you're able to bring balance. There's going to be seasons when you're going to have to adjust and pivot. There's freedom in the pivot. And what do I mean by that? Some years or some seasons, maybe it's a half a season, you'll really have to hunker down on the academic learning because maybe we kind of got slack with that. And you'll have to spend a little bit more time kind of getting that moving and getting order and rhythm and routine in your children's lives and in your home, or an illness or a financial shortfall can happen. So the other part with when you're working, if you're working from the home, that has a whole different level of responsibility and structure and order than if you leave to go to a job. Because if you're not there, your children are, hopefully, they're carrying on with whatever plans you've asked them to do, whether it's do their schoolwork or, unload the dishwasher or take care of the house, make dinner, whatever it is, especially if you have the teenagers. So there's a different level of trust that has to happen if you are working outside of the home than if you are working in the home. So because we're homeschooling, more and more moms are actually working from home. I mean, that's just, we need the extra income. You've seen the price of groceries. Sometimes it's a need, a physical, we need to be able to pay the bills. And that's why I'm working. And sometimes it's because mom needs an outlet and work is her outlet. So first, identify why it is that you're adding work. Motherhood is a full-time job. Wouldn't you agree? I mean, it's a lot of work.
It's permanent. You never be the same. It's permanent. You'll always be a mom.
And then two, homeschooling is a vocation that teachers get paid a lot of money for. Maybe not homeschoolers, but it is a full-time job. It is a job that has incredible consequences. You have committed to the education of your children and preparing them to step into society, whether that's with a degree, without a degree, a vocation, a VOTEC, certification. You've still got to get them ready for that so that they can, move off the payroll one day, move out of your house one day, provide for their family one day. So you have to be thinking about all the parts and pieces. Right. Yes, the relationship is important, and that does allow us to facilitate hard conversations, which you kind of mentioned. But the tactics and the tools and the intentionality that we put in it is real work. And when mom is also trying to work and manage a home, work and teach their children, work and make sure somebody gets tutored because they're behind, or because sick kids are fighting. So mom's always breaking up fighting and arguing, or stress that's coming in, or trying to keep the world from totally corrupting your family. The best way to do that is with structure, order, and routine. And what do I mean? If you are going to work, get up early before the kids get up. If they're teenagers, a lot of them wake up late anyway. Get some hours logged in before they wake up. And then have a cutoff time. Unless it's a deadline, you have a cutoff time. And you tell your children, mom's working between 5 in the morning and 7 in the morning, or 8 in the morning. Or mom's going to work from 4 to 7, whatever that looks like. And you tell your children, this is mommy's schedule. Mommy's going to be working here to earn income, and you are going to be doing this. You're going to get the beds made. You're going to get the house picked up. You're going to get your schoolwork started. You're going to help your brother or sister get ready, or you're going to make breakfast, or whatever that looks like. And then mom's going to finish at this time. And you need to honor that. And the reason I'm going to stress this is your children learn that your word means something. And that is trust and respect. So you need to, as much as possible, adhere to that. It'll flex and it'll bend. Then you need to have your structured school time. School's always, I know this is a controversial thing, but children, our brains are more awake in the morning hours, usually before 1 in the afternoon. There's an alertness, an eagerness, the energy level's up, their brains are awake. And some of you may disagree and say, no, my kids work better at night, or I work better at night. So know your child, know your family, and what your structure is. When it's school time, we got to do school time. And then when it's lunchtime, we're going to do lunch. And then when it's reading time or quiet time or rest time or independent learning time, okay, you're going to go do this work. I'll make sure you know how to do it. And I'm going to go back to work for another couple of hours. When the children go down for bedtime, whatever that is, or evening time where they don't really need you quite as much, you're going to log in a few more hours. So structure, rhythm, and routine. You need it. Your children need it. And it's good for your family. They know what's coming. And when kids, especially teenagers, know what to expect, you get less resistance. When there is structure, and when there is structure, then everybody just kind of has a piece of, okay, well, this is just what we do. And use those words. This is our family. This is what we do. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. You're creating a culture, a lifestyle. So it's good to communicate it with your children. They're actually watching you. So they need to know what environment they're being raised at, right? Like I say that from my experience when we travel, when we're in conferences, like our children have been in these environments where we have to explain, well, we're here because we do this and this brought us here. So these are the people we're engaging with. And everybody is doing the same. You have to talk to them and explain to them. Thank you for emphasizing that. And I know there's so much more that we can say, but an interview.
Can I add one thing?
Of course.
I add one thing?
Yeah.
You said without losing your identity.
Yes.
Your identity is not something you lose. Your identity is found in Christ. You are His. He has a calling on your life. And in certain seasons, you're not going to have as much time for a long devotional or a long walk or a long hot bath. But you've got to structure your day in a way that you get 5 to 10 minutes that's just yours. You're meditating, you're praying, you're journaling, you're reading a book, you're just sitting in silence. You need to have that for your mental well-being and your sanity, even if it's a hobby or a project. But in certain seasons, you may only get 5 to 15 minutes. And then that season's going to pass and you can end up with hours and you'll be like, wow, I missed the busy. It does happen when your kids get older and they move into adulthood. And you are stepping back going, I have prepared you for this. I have prepared you for this. I do not need to be afraid. And when this season ends, I won't look in the mirror and go, who are you? I don't even know who you are.
Right.
You will know who you are because you know whose you are and you know where you were running the race set before you that God has put, and it's not going to last forever.
Again, seasons. And I love how you put it together. We can't miss the season, but you're also freeing a lot of young moms because we see this on social media too. You know, the fake look of homeschooling, like everything looks pretty and the mom is happy and the kids are running happy. And I just want to point that out. That's such a fake presentation of what is really happening in the house. Look at what we have just spoken about in the past 30 minutes in this interview. There's so much going on in our lives, and it's so freeing to hear, especially from you. You have 5 children. You're a veteran of homeschooling, telling us that it's okay, 10 minutes. You don't need an hour. You don't need a full retreat because sometimes you just can't. But we see this push again on social media and on posts, like get an hour under the sun. Okay, just get at least 15 minutes if you can. You know, like date your husband every single week so that you can sustain your marriage. Listen, at least once a month, and you can do it at the kitchen of the house if you don't have money to go out. And so I see that a lot. The social life, it's kind of presenting you a picture that it is not even yours. They don't know your children. They don't know your marriage. They don't know your circumstances, right? So it's very freeing to hear from you, Connie, right now. And I'm sure a lot of other pioneers and veterans that have walked the path can say the same thing almost, is that it's not about the quantity sometimes, it's about the quality of the time and the attention that you present to your children and to yourself as an individual. So,
I love that you said marriage. Tom
oh,
and I've been
yes, that's
married for
another topic.
43 years. I know, but you don't want to get to the end of this and look at your husband and go, why did I marry you? Or look in the
Yes.
mirror and go, you're not even the person you used to be. You're not going to be the person you used to be.
Never.
You just raised human beings
Yes.
and you homeschooled them. So no, you're not going to be who you were. Anna Marie, you are not the same person that I met
No,
14
that will
years
be
ago.
part of our roundtable for moms. We're all
Good.
changing. Yes, that's a
Good.
key topic.
Okay.
We're going to do a conference about marriage and homeschooling because that's
Good.
a whole different platform and idea because I see that struggle as well. Now you not only are homeschooling, but you're having to keep that marriage where your kids come from, hopefully, and you want to keep that relationship a priority. So one of the things that we may touch on that roundtable is how to keep the priorities during each season. Priorities also change over each season, so there's layers to all this conversation. But then let me ask you, because at the end of your journey, then you decide to write Parenting Beyond the Rules. So you decide to become a writer. So you're not only a speaker, but a writer, and you were homeschooling. So sometime along this timeline, you decided to write Parenting Beyond the Rules. So my question to you will be, what motivated you to write this?
We worked with teens and college kids, middle schoolers, teens, and college kids for about 15 years. As our kids were in those seasons, we would always bring people into our home. All the kids, it was always our home was open. And these kids would just constantly, we'd do Bible studies once a week. And they'd come to me with their struggles, their problems. They'd share prayer requests. They'd want advice, stuff they really got into that they were in trouble. And when I would ask them, like, why don't you talk to your parents? These were Christian parents. And my parents would be disappointed. My parents would be angry. My parents would take away all my privileges. My parents won't listen to me. I can't talk to them. And so I literally just I took journals throughout all that season of what the kids were saying, because that was also some of what my kids were feeling as well. They want to have a voice. They want to have something to say. They don't want to be fixed. They're not a broken piece that they need an assembly. They need guidance and training. And so I'm going to show this, because your children are a masterpiece. A masterpiece is not paint by numbers. Your children are not paint by numbers. They are a unique original. You mentioned that. And you don't use the same colors. You don't use the same brushes. God is the architect. He knows the plans he has for your children. And so the teen years are the hardest years. I know toddler years are rough. I just had my grandbabies, and I try to help them as much.
You're depleted. You're drained. You're drained.
Yeah. And so I will just say it was one of those where I said, Lord, what do you want me to do next? I had done a lot of things. And he said, I want you to write. And I'm like, about what? And it was the teen years. That's where we lose our kids. That's where we lose their heart. That's where they walk away from the Lord. That's where they get into trouble that can be life altering. And I want to encourage parents that you can get through this season with confidence and joy.
Thank you, Connie. I'm going to end it with that, with encouragement. We can get through this season, and there's people like you, tools available to us, and the Holy Spirit in our favor to finish well. So please share this interview with all those parents that you know are going through the teenage years, and we cordially invite you to join us on April 10th and 11th with Connie Albers and other pioneers to learn from them, but also to equip our homes so that you can go back home and do an excellent job. Doesn't mean you're not going to make mistakes. We all make mistakes, but that's where the grace and the love of our Heavenly Father comes in, and we can do this. I'm preaching to myself. I'm preaching to all my friends that know me from my beginnings, along with Ricardo. You guys have seen Transition Ed grow. And we have done this as we homeschool and as we raise children. So most people that know us from the times where we started, like you, Connie, just like you said at the beginning of this interview, you met our children. They were little. We were just starting. And look what God has done. Hasn't been perfect. We're not perfect, but we give all the glory to him, because this is the proof that he holds our hands and helps us through the rough times and the good times. Okay. So please share. Thank you, Connie, for your time. It's such an honor to talk to you. Thank you for your friendship and for everything you're doing now in this season of life.
Well, thank you so much. It was good to be with you.
Thank you.